Hello everyone, it's Mike again, and today I'll be showcasing at least a version of the new blue hybrid deck. In this case, it's mostly just going to be blue base, and I do think that red base is also still pretty solid. I just want to try out the strawberry mines just because I still think they can be kind of decent, only because the unleashing of the BT7 one is decent because now you have the new Koji. And you can also use the promo Lobo, and while I haven't used it in these games, I still think that could be a really funny option just because of the fact that you could evo for 2 and go into Ancient Guru and whatnot for 1 and do a lot of funny shenanigans with that. But in this case I never got to go off, but at least that's an advantage blue base can have at some point, just because again you do often just get stuck to 3 with your memory set, and you don't really have a lot of other mem gain effects other than the Koji inherits. So I think going to your ancient for potentially 3 without passing token can be really funny sometimes. And in this case I would just be facing red hybrid, and I only thought to do this only because of the fact that I thought it'd be kind of nice to show the 2 new hybrid decks facing off each other, one red base, one blue base. So again, that could be kind of fun. And in this case I end up going first, of course, hatching into the Wanyamon and just going to Yuko for 1. And I kind of do think that Yuko does still help out the deck, even though you could probably run it at lower copies, just because I think you have enough strawberries to fill out your lineup. And I think a lot of them can be kind of decent just because, again, a lot of them are soldiers. And you also have the BT6 one to consider as well, just because you can gain a memory, since a lot of your stuff, of course, is hybrid stuff. And in this case, he just, goes into Flamon in the back and ends up playing the new Flamon that ends up grabbing the Takuya and the Ancient Greymon. And the Yuko search was kind of nice because I was able to grab a hybrid of it, that being the Kendo, and basically one of your big pieces to go into your Ancient play. And I end up hard slamming the new Strawberry, and it was kind of unfortunate because I wasn't able to grab a Digimon out of that. But again, I already did grab one off the Yuko, and now I do have a Koji in hand, so if I'm able to, I can kind of at least go off the Strawberry, and that way I could swing a thick, draw, and also if it gets deleted, I'm able to play the Koji I just drew. But in this case, he ends up swinging to security and he hits my memory settle, which is kind of unfortunate because this one also does give jamming if you add a card to your hand by effect, which again I think is really good, and I really do love this new memory set of Koji. And again, it being a memory set is also just good because if I ever wanted to evo off my Digimon, at least I could go for 3 and not pass turn. And I think it is kind of unfortunate the new hybrids all 3, but again I kind of understand just because they do color and they kind of do a lot. But in this case I was considering swinging with the Strawberry Mon, but of course I stopped. I just evoed into the Kendo Force, and I did that just because just in case if it got deleted, I was able to at least get the annihilation of the Strawberry. And I swing with Yukomon, it doesn't die, but I draw 1 for that. And now I just go into my combo here because I'm able to get some decent advantage because I don't waste my Koji, and I end up just going into my Ancient, balancing the Flamon he had along with activating the Your Turn effect of Ancient, so that way he kind of just gets really low on security really fast. And even in the game I was kind of thinking I should have swung with the Strawberry just in case, because they have access to the new Boring Greymon that has Raid, and if he combos it with the piercing one, he could do damage over my bodies. But I don't really think that was an issue in this current moment, so again, it is what it is, and I wasn't really worried about losing a body, especially since it was just a Flamon. And in this case, the ancient stuff triggered where I was able to play a Tamer. It's really nice that it's just any Tamer because I played the Tai Kari off of it, because I think in blue base you want at least some access to Crimson Blaze, and I think the dual Tamer is a nice way to do it because it's yellow too, so you at least are able to evo off of it. And the Unleashing of the Strawberry let me play the Koji from BT7, which was nice, so that way I at least get 2 Tamers out of that whole interaction. I think this is one of the bigger advantages of just blue base, is because of the fact that you could probably spawn out a lot more Tamers than usual, just because AncientGarurumon plays out any Tamer, and then the Unleashing of the Strawberry along with the new one can just play out Tamers as well, which is really helpful because that way you can push the game in different ways. And in this case, I think he's thinking exactly what hybrid he wants to use, so he ends up using the new Boring Greymon. And this one is still really nice because it has a lot of good abilities to be able to raid, and if you combo it off with the piercing to clear, which in this case he did, you're able to at least not only swing into any unsuspended body, you're able to either evo into a Digimon or say your Aldermon. And in this case, I think the list had the OG Aldermon from BT4, and I think that's kind of nice because of the fact that you can go for 2 and basically just swing for 2 checks and really big numbers at the ultimate stage. But I think in this case he was probably like missing a piece or 2, so that's why you see him like thinking exactly which hybrid he wants to go into. So he goes into a Digimon for 1, which is kind of nice just because again you get to kind of go in between the stages like that. And in this case he just goes into his Aldermon for 1. And I think right now he's kind of thinking exactly what he wanted to do. So now he, of course, swings into the Yogomon. I think it's only for 1 check, but even then, it's still kind of nice because you also do get piercing thanks to the new Takuya. And while you were able to get that with the BT6 Flamemon, having that on the table is still really nice because now that way you don't always have to rely on just seeing that one Wookiee. Again, this was pretty much his best effort to delete my board because he goes into Ancient Garurumon. And at this point, I pretty much just needed the 3 hybrids to win the game. But in this case, I just ended up drawing the hybrids, so I'm pretty sure I might have had them already. I'm not entirely sure, I don't remember. But again, here going to Kendo, and again, this Kendo is just absolutely phenomenal just because of the fact that again you swing, you draw 1 with its 1 attacking, and if you really want to use the effect in this case you could have, but again I didn't really need to just because I would have won regardless. And Kendo here again, and I pretty much just Lobo for game. It's pretty much just game here. And again, I think the hybrid matchups against each other is pretty much just who gets to see their full combo first, just because of the fact that they have a lot of good setup, because I think they both have decent rookies and they both can really abuse Yugomon. But I think the one advantage Red Hybrid has in a lot of cases in comparison to Blue Hybrid is they also have the piercing Takuya that also gains the memory. So not only could you just say Yugo spam, you could also just have that Takuya sit there and gain you memory no matter what, because it's a very easy condition. All your opponent needs to have is a Digimon, so it's really easy to meet it because a lot of people would just be playing out Yugomons or just low level stuff to get out the pieces. And I think that Takuya also providing piercing to your stack is also really helpful in a lot of cases. Even if you want to go into say just red base blue hybrid, I think that's still a really valid way of play, only because of the fact that you get stuff like the Koromon from BT14, similar enough to what red hybrid uses in a lot of cases, because again the draw can be really useful. In this case, again, I go Force this time, and then I just go the Yugo, and again, very classic setup for just hybrid decks in general. And in this case, he hatches the Golem one that I was just talking about, and he ends up just going into a Flame One in the back. This one is the On Deletion, play Takuya, and again, I still think the BT7 ones are fine. It just kind of sucks that I don't think they're as good as I wish, only because the on play is kind of mid in a lot of senses, because it only grabs 1 of the pieces and not like say a hybrid and a Takuya. It just grabs either a Takuya or hybrid, and same thing with BT7 Strawberry. But again, the oscillations still all pretty decent just because again they pre-played the table. And he ends up just moving the Flame One up, and it kind of was unfortunate because he didn't see one of the Yugomons since he can't really hatch. But I still think the raising the Flame One here was nice because he also does have the memory set of Takuya. So if he really wanted to, he could evo one of his champions onto the Flame One, and if he has enough memory left over, he could still hybrid on the Takuya as well and still do a lot of damage like that. But in this case, he ends up just going into the BT12 Aguni, so then that way if it ends up dying, he ends up getting a decent amount of advantage. He gets to play a Takuya along with playing out a Flamemon. But again, it just hit my BT7 Goji, so of course it didn't die. And in this case, he ends up just playing the Flamemon, so that way he ends up grabbing another Flamemon and another Takuya. I think it was kind of unfortunate just because of the fact that again, I feel it would have been way better if he ended up searching just level 4 or maybe even one of his level 6s, but it is what it is sometimes. And now double Yuko here, and that's just really powerful, and he ended up giving me a blue table, so now my random ones are pretty much live. And while I don't have the memory set up, I don't think it's the biggest deal for me, only because again now I'm at least able to get some draws off with the Wanyamon, and I'm kind of contemplating the swing because I know if I start swinging now, I might hit a Tamo, and in this case, I don't hit either or. I just hit like a Boogie at level 4 and one of the Yugos dies, which again, right now, I don't really care if they die just because now I got a decent amount of value out of them. And now I'm kind of thinking about my next move, and in this case, I end up just doing my full combo here, or go into Kendo, go into Lobo, and then just go into my Ancient. And while the only thing it does end up bouncing is the Flamon, I still think, again, doing that right now is pretty nice because now he's pretty much down to 1 security and he pretty much has to kill me next turn, or else I end up just being able to win, or at least kind of he has to eliminate my board. But even then, now with the AncientGarurumon Unleashing, I end up playing the Memory Settle Koji, and with these two games you can kind of see just how fast the hybrid deck can kind of ramp up, in my case with blue hybrid. And trust me, there were other games that we have played where red hybrid is able to kind of just do a ton of damage in 1 to 2 turns. In this case, he ends up using his Takuya to go into Boring Greymon again, and with the Boring Greymon still really nice because he pretty much meets the conditions of being able to get to the 10k. So now I think he's just thinking exactly what he wants to do now, either swing now or just pump up one of his guys to do a ton of damage. And he's kind of thinking whether he wants to swing now, just because I think he's also kind of worried of like a potential hammer spark or something in security. So he foresees swings with the Boring Greymon, and that way he gains back to 2 memory, and he preemptively uses Atomic Inferno just in case. So that Greymon's pumped up to like plus 3k and an extra security attack, which is really nice. And he doesn't get piercing with this one, unfortunately, because again, he doesn't have any inherits to do so. But being able to do just a sheer amount of damage with that one strike is really nice. And now he just goes into the Boring Grey, uses another Atomic Inferno, and another Atomic Inferno comes down, and it kind of is unfortunate he wasn't able to finish the game here, just because I was left at like 0 security, and I pretty much had enough buys to pretty much go for game here. And at the end, you're pretty much gonna see me do my full combo because I just thought it would be fun just to finish the game off like that instead of just doing the normal hybrid for game and stuff. But I only did it for the funny. And the next game is going to be, at least I think, a fine attempt on showing how blue hybrid can sometimes play out the stall game, and especially kind of the downside if you don't see your ancient as much as you want to, because sometimes it is where you only really run like, again, 4 ancients at most, and you don't really want any of the BT4 ones just because I think it's not as good, sadly. But again, I still think that blue hybrid can have some decent tools in terms of just being able to stall out the game, because again, they all pop blue and yellow, so you could still use other blue and yellow megas out generic. And in this case, this is a game where I end up using BT11 Mirage, which I think can be a funny tech from time to time, just because again, your Beowulf is still blue, so you can use that if you still want to. Again, using other generic megas in the yellow pulp like Venus Spawn could still be kind of nice from time to time. And again, I still think the new support for blue hybrid is still really solid for its own line, just because again, the Beowulf is able to stun something, pretty much any Digimon or Tamo, along with again just the new line being really good in terms of surge power, along with just really nice draw power, because again, the inherits are still nice, and in a lot of cases, while I haven't really seen them all that much come up, they still can be nice in cases where you kind of want to just full out Digicross your AncientGarurumon, because again, you don't get a lot of draws off that, so you go -3 for your hand size, so being able to at least draw something is really nice. So that's another really nice advantage of blue hybrid, in my opinion, at least with the new line. And in this case, he ends up just going into Flamon and then the Boring Grey, and it kind of does suck that the new hybrids, again, all 3 costs, but they still have really nice effects, so you still want to run them no matter what, I think, anyways. And in this case, I just put him to 1 with the BT7 Strawberry and Yuko in the back, and with me, I just grabbed the Lobo because I didn't think I was able to really proc the promo level anytime soon. So that's why I grabbed the BT17 one, because I thought at least being able to get some combo pieces off is really good, because I still think that's still a really solid play. And one of your main plays you want to do is Kendo, Lobo, and then go into your Ancient. And in this case, he ends up raiding into my Strawberry, and it was kind of unfortunate just because, again, now I have one less body. But now, thanks to my Yukomon, I end up grabbing my new Koji, and I won't be able to get the draw here because, again, I don't have the Koji out. But I go into another Yuko in the back, and now I just went forced. And this was kind of a misplay because I was supposed to have the Yukomon be dead because I hit an ultimate. But in the end, I don't think it mattered just because of the following combo that the Red Hybrid player was about to do. So of course, before he does anything, he ends up going Yukomon in the back, this time the promo one. So that's really solid just because I think it's a really good rookie for the deck in place of the BT16 one, only because of the fact that, again, I think Red Hybrid definitely wants the memory a lot more often, just because that way they can use stuff like Atomic Inferno a lot easier and whatnot. And I think he's just double checking the exact combo line he wants to do right now, because in this case I think he ends up swinging with the Boy and Greymon, going to the Aguni, so that way he can do the same exact ancient play I've been pretty much doing this entire video. But before he does any of that, he first uses Atomic Inferno, because in this case the Ancient Gray has inherit +1 security attack, so when he does the full combo, he's able to get 3 checks off, which is really good. And I think in a lot of cases the Ancient Gray would be pretty much bigger than anything I would have, and I think it would even be bigger than, say, if I hit a Heaven's Judgment in there. I think if Heaven's Judgment was like the first hit, then it would have been really negative for him. But in this case he hits a Koji and just hits like some Digimon, which of course he's bigger. And if you saw, he ended up deleting my Yukomon, so again, that's the play I was talking about. Since Ancient Greymon deletes stuff on Digivolve, he would have deleted my Yukomon, so either way it would have died. I just should have had the Yukomon die a lot earlier. And in this case, he ends up being able to trigger the unleashing of Ancient Greymon, and he played the BT7 Takuya thanks to the Flame on deletion to play a team with a hidden effect, which is really good. And the Ancient Greymon on deletion is also, again, really solid. And in this case, he ends up grabbing the Aldermon. I ended up hitting security, and he ended up drawing one because I think he forgot to draw one for the Koromon. And he also ends up playing the Takuya, which is really nice, I think, from the Ancient Greymon effect. And then I bring up my Yuko, and I was thinking exactly what to grab, and I was double checking my trash to see what I was missing. So in this case I grabbed Beowulf because I was thinking maybe I could like stun one of his Tamers and whatnot to hopefully stop him from hybriding me out instead. But in this case, before I do that, I end up swinging with my Yuko, and I activate the Lobo Warp to go into the Beowulf, so that way again I can stun one of his Tamers. And it costs 3 to do this, which is kind of nice because I'm still able to go into a Mega in the following moments, because again it normally costs 4, and that's just the only way you really are able to keep tone with it, unless you gain memory, which in this case I at least gained 1 just because of the Koji effect, because the Beowulf added one of my cards to hand. And since he has jamming, I ended up swinging and I wasn't able to draw off the inherit, but again, it wasn't the biggest deal. And in this case I go into BT11 Mirage to just bounce a security to hand. And I think Mirage can be a funny tech in Blue Hybrid, mainly because of the fact that it can sometimes just stop random draw stuff, and they have to be more careful, only because again Mirage gains memory for every 4 cards, and I think at this point he had a decent amount of cards in hand to potentially pass turn. And I don't remember exactly which Takuya I stunned. I think it was the Warborn, just in case if he had the Emperor and stuff. But now he kind of just has to figure out how to win game without really messing up all that much, because again I do have Mirage out, and the Koromon would pretty much be able to gain me memory. But I don't really think it mattered as much, only because in this case he goes off one of the BT12 Takuyas, so even if I stunned one of them, it wouldn't really matter all that much because he would just use the other one. And in this case he goes into BT for Alder, and again the Mirage in this case didn't really matter as much just because he gained back 2, so he was supposed to draw, which he ended up doing. But again, just because he gained back 2 memory to kind of keep it into his turn, he was able to go for game with his Yugo. And I just want to say before the video actually ends is thank you to everyone who's been watching. And again, don't forget to like, comment, sub. And don't worry, the deck profile video, at least for this version, will come out soon. And of course, stay tuned for that. I hope you guys do enjoy the deck profile whenever it does come out. Again, thank you guys for watching to the end, and see you guys later.